everybody. Welcome to Side Project, our foray into middle age and all things health related. Yes, you got us. We're back. We're doing another season. Here we go. Today, we're going to talk about feet, which I'm pretty thrilled about. But as always, my cohort in all things, Ruthie Miller, is here, and she's going to give us the down low on the awesome person we get to talk to today. Hi, Ruthie.
Hi, Layla. I'm super excited to talk about feet today, actually, because it's so random. I mean, it's random and it's not, right? Because kind of our whole lives revolve around feet, but rarely do we ever think about them or take the time to take care of them until something actually goes wrong with them.
100%.
Yeah, and so a couple of years ago, my sister went to a talk about feet with this fabulous woman that she couldn't stop talking about. And many years later, she still talks about how much she learned from this woman, Dr. Emily. So we found Dr. Emily and we asked her if she would be willing to come and talk to us and give us the lowdown on how we can take care of our feet so we can, again, stay stronger for longer. So we're sitting here today with Dr. Emily Splichal. She is a podiatrist, a human movement specialist, and a global leader in barefoot science and rehabilitation. Super cool. She also just published her second book, which is called Sensory Sapiens, and you can find that on Amazon. But what's really interesting to me about Dr. Emily and kind of what I liked most about her bio is that she was trained as a surgeon, a podiatric surgeon. Is that am I saying that right? But I think while she still might do surgeries, she's considers herself more of a functional medicine doctor now. So a lot of podiatrists, when you go to them, they kind of tend to just immediately go into orthotics and surgery. And she really tries to find ways to improve your foot health, ways to improve your problems and fix your foot challenges without doing those things first. So super excited. Welcome, Dr. Emily. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you. And yes, I'm the black sheep of the podiatry profession. So
we like black sheep. Yeah. You're in good company. You're in good company.
I challenged and tried to shake up the whole profession. So some people love it, some people hate it, but
we're of that kind. We like it. All right. So break it down for us. Like Ruthie made a good point. We're on our feet all the time and you never think about them until they hurt. Right. So now we're like, in our 50s, nearing our 50s, whatever. We're all calling that midlife because apparently we all think we're going to live till we're 100. But whatever, I'm rolling with it. But what should we be doing I get a manicure and a pedicure. I'm that person. I like having pretty nails, whatever. But beyond that, what are we supposed to be thinking about with our feet right now and how we should, and just generally how we should be taking care of them? Big question, but
yeah, no, definitely. So high level, our feet are our body's foundation. Obviously, it's the only contact point between the body and the ground. So when we stand, walk, run, move, squat, whatever activity is that you like doing, almost all of them involve you standing on your feet or you're in some sort of footwear experience. So our feet are used and abused all day, every day, and not many people focus on them. So there are very simple things that you can do to focus on recovery, to focus on strength, proper alignment. Of course, there's things like nails and skin that I could go into as well. So there's the aesthetic side of the feet, especially in sandal season and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very a low priority in most people's life because they're just hidden in shoes. And really a lot of people from the media onward focus on kind of the, not taboo, but it's just this thing that is hidden, is very far away. It's touching the ground. But I love feet. And not that I have a foot fetish, but I love feet. I'm fascinated in human movement. And the feet are a critical part of human movement. I'm also fascinated in the nervous system in the brain. And the feet are a very powerful gateway into your brain. So
wait. When you go to the acupuncture, the massage parlor, and they're always touching your feet, and those weird posters of all the, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep, reflexology. So that's reflexology. Yep. And there is a validity to that. I used to tell my patients when I practiced in New York City, I would say, go to Chinatown, go to the $40 foot massage. And honestly, it was a huge part of their weekly foot recovery or foot health routine. And they would do an incredible job. So there's something to the reflexology.
Yeah.
What exactly is reflexology? It's like certain, pain points in your pressure points in your feet. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and I'm not trained, and I work with reflexologists, so I don't want to say something incorrectly as far as what it is. But there are different points in the foot that connect to other parts in the body, organs and things like that, where they can pick up on release here. It'll release tension in your liver or gallbladder, things like that. That's an Eastern medicine reflexology approach. I take it a little bit different and look a little bit more Western medicine as far as these are the actual muscles and this is where they insert and then this is where the stress happens. So release it here. A little bit Western, East meets West philosophy of how I look at the foot.
Love that. Love that.
So for us, for a lot of people, shove their, I mean, I don't know if women shove their feet in tennis shoes and don't look at them. Of course, some do, but like at some point, I don't know. There are a lot of people at the nail salon, I'm just going to say. But so as we're aging, like I hurt my foot, right? I had like something happen to my Achilles and my foot started hurting and it sucked. Like when not just like I've been on my feet all day and I'm tired, like really it's hurt and it messed up the way I walked. It hurt a lot. Like as that starts to become, I don't know, more prevalent as we age, like what is a foot routine that we should do? They tell you stretch routines, yoga, this, that, and the other, but like, is there a foot protocol or a foot routine for women our age?
Well, for all humans with feet.
Or yes. All humans? All humans. I like all humans.
We are going to focus on women around 50 so the first thing that makes me think about is changes in hormones. And this is important because changing in hormones, especially estrogen, affects your collagen, your connective tissue. And there are over 100 ligaments in our feet. Plus, there's obviously a lot of tendons and there's very unique forces. So there is, just as a side comment, there is what's called an adult acquired flat foot, which is where one foot arch just suddenly drops. Typically, there's a predisposition that I would be able to screen for. But the way that the patient sees it is that just one arch suddenly drops. So now one of their foot is flat and the other foot has an arch. That's called an adult acquired flat foot. That has a tendency to be more in women who are post-menopausal, kind of somewhere in their menopausal journey. And it's just classically this over 40 change in hormones that is changing your connective tissue. So it's something that I do mention with women in their 50s is that understand that your connective tissue is changing. And the connective tissue is what creates the structure and the support to your foot. So yes, your arches can fall with age. Yes, your foot size can become bigger because when your arch drops, your foot becomes wider and longer. So people may say, I don't fit my shoes the same anymore. That's also while during pregnancy, especially women who have had multiple pregnancies, their feet grow during the pregnancy. They didn't actually grow. It was that the ligaments lengthened through hormone changes and the foot became wider / longer. So having said all
that makes so much sense.
Yes, which no one talks about. So I actually recommend to women, again, this is more towards the pregnancy side, but women who are pregnant, as they're going through the 3rd and the 4th trimester, that's where I actually want them using arch supports to try to minimize the dropping of the arch and the stress to the ligaments with the hormone changes. No one really talks about that around that 3rd, 4th trimester.
That would have been really valuable information.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, totally. I gave myself a stress fracture after I gave birth, so I totally didn't follow my own advice. But I had a summer baby and it was hot and I had to walk around New York City and the concrete jungle gym with my baby. But so yeah, I totally did the same thing because your foot just starts to drop with that laxity of the relaxin hormone. Estrogen is another really important hormone for your connective tissue. So that's something to note. Having said all of that, what you were asking are what are these simple habits of what we could do? And I teach women and everyone how to do an easy daily foot release. That's using the narrow ball. So can you just release your feet every morning, every evening? When you brush your teeth, release your feet. Super, super easy. Can you incorporate some sort of foot activation? I teach people what's called a forward lean, where you stand nice and tall, stiff as a board, and you slightly lean your body forward. Every time you lean your body forward, you activate your feet. super easy. Stand on one leg, 10 seconds, do that a couple times each side, boom, boom, boom. And then the third one is just recovery at the end of the day. So activate, strengthen, and recover your feet in a very easy way every single day.
So let's talk about that little ball thing. And so for anybody who's not watching on video, Dr. Emily is holding up a little ball. It looks like a tennis ball, but it actually splits in half. So you've got two semispheres, right? Is that the right word? I don't know.
Domes, hemispheres.
And domes, that's a better word. So, and what I do with them is I kind of just stand on them and I shift my weight around and I do 1 foot at a time. Am I doing this right? Is it kind of like pressure points again on your feet?
Yes. So we teach it that there's 5 points on the bottom of the foot. For those that are watching the video, there's just 5 points at the heel, middle of arch, ball of foot, outside arch, inside arch, 5 points. And then you would stand on the domes, hemispheres, on the domes for 20 seconds per point. Go to the next point, 20 seconds, dot, dot, dot. If you do both feet at the same time, check, check. You get it done less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
And you do that while you're brushing your teeth, putting on your makeup, all of that, morning, evening. I'm very much, as far as it relates to the feet, into habit stacking or somehow minimizing resistance or friction to increase compliancy. I've been doing this a long time. It takes a lot for people to prioritize their feet. So I need to be as streamlined as possible.
Fair. That's fair.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And so really just doing that in and of itself would be a lot towards keeping your feet super healthy and in better shape. They just need to be sort of moved around on those pressure points and released. Is that sort of the thing?
Yes. Now, the one thing that I do want to mention, so on the ball, for those that can see it, there's a little tiny pyramid. So all of the Naboso products have a texture on them, and that is a very specific texture to stimulate a certain nerve in the bottom of the feet. And that nerve happens to be the same nerve that your hand uses to read Braille. So it is the Braille nerve. So we call Naboso Braille for your feet. When you bring a specific stimulus to the nervous system, to the body, to the brain, it recognizes it, and that's where you get the effect.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So doing this, what does it do? It just makes your feet more flexible, more capable, like walking around and you're like in better shape. They're stronger, like muscles. I don't really.
Yes. So it wakes them up, right?
Okay.
So this is most people don't feel their feet, right? Like I know we're talking about feet, but even if I just said like, hey, how many of the listeners right now as we're sitting here are thinking about their feet? How many of the people as we're sitting here are actually aware of their posture? I don't know. Are either of you aware of your posture as you're sitting in your chair? Right?
No.
Most people are like, huh? Right? They just don't think about it.
Right.
My goal through sensory stimulation and understanding the sensory system is to make body awareness, posture awareness more conscious, more at the forefront and a priority of your brain and what you focus on, because that's how you minimize stress. Stress meaning the pounding and the gravity and the impact forces and all of that stuff, to then minimize joint wear and tear, muscle wear and tear, to then support what's called movement longevity. And this is a lifestyle thing, right? So your posture, how you move, how you carry yourself, how you relate to the ground and gravity and all of this is a long game. This literally has to be a lens at which you look at the world or how you relate to the world.
And if you do it right, you will just stay upright longer.
Like alive?
Yeah. I mean, right.
No, like you will be able to, you will have movement. You will not be the, old person with osteoporosis and, who knows if we're going to get that, but our goal is kind of longevity, stronger for longer.
Yeah. So the one part that I speak about, so I actually talk a lot about movement longevity. I talk a lot within the active aging market. I talk a lot within the fitness and the wellness, and this whole longevity space is one of the fastest growing markets around the world, right? People just want to live better, longer, right? Have a high quality of life. Around there, the one thing is that is the hardest to deal with is arthritis. So what you had said, right, is degenerative joint disease, wear and tear, like, your joints, right? Like, to me, it is a thing that even in my early 40s, gets me is like joint stiffness and joint pain, right? So that is based off of how you carry your body. What is your posture? What is your alignment? What is your foot posture? How do you relate to gravity and the ground? That is the key part to minimizing joint wear and tear, which is arthritis.
So I've noticed that you have a product, they're socks that are kind of textured socks. And I've been noticing this in other areas too. Like they now sell yoga pants that kind of have textures and shirts that have textures on the inside, So is that really what it's designed to do, is sort of make you more aware of your body? So you are sort of focusing on that. The textured socks help you focus on your feet while you're exercising or while you're walking around?
Yes, 100%, right? So the way that you notice your feet during movement, working out, things like that is either be completely barefoot. That's a great one. I'm definitely an advocate of barefoot training. Could be wearing minimal shoes like a Vivo Barefoot, a Zero Shoe, a Lem, something that is very low profile, no cushion. It could be using something like the Naboso socks. And I'll just show the socks for the people that are watching the video that have the texture on the inside. So you're feeling the tiny little pyramids on the inside, same pyramid as the ball that I showed. But that is helping you to feel your feet. You could use whole body vibration platforms. You could use kinesiology tape. So that's the tape that like the Olympians would wear that was colored. I am familiar with the brand that you're talking about with the texture on the inside, right?
Yeah.
I assume that it's Elastic, which is a brand. I don't know if that's the one that you're thinking
I
of.
remember.
Theirs is a little bit different. So they have these little silicone dots that are on the inside of the fabric, which is stimulating more lymphatic. But there's a very strong interplay between circulation and awareness, texture, perception, proprioception. They're all playing in the same sandbox. So anything that heightens an awareness. I actually love compression apparel as well. So something like Spanx, right? Like anything compressive is building your connection and your awareness to your body. Wrist weights, those are awesome as well. Weighted vests, weighted apparel. There's many different ways that you can kind of tie it in. Dry brushing, that's another great one, is you're just stimulating the thousands of nerves that are in your skin.
Very cool. Do you have any plans to make those socks in a white? I'm asking selfishly. I like white socks. I like the idea of those socks, but I don't do black socks.
It's very American of you.
I
know. Okay, so this is fascinating and not not at all. Like I thought I was doing a great job because I wear Hokas and I sort of keep my feet relatively clean and all that stuff. But obviously there's a lot more to it as far as getting things sort of moving and getting to know your feet, right? I feel like I'm getting to know my body at 50 because I feel like I spent most of my childhood and preteen and the young adult years trying to ignore it or hide it or act like it wasn't there or ashamed of it or not into it or whatever. So it's this weird part of the podcast. This is a revelation of like, oh, I feel this hurts, whatever these different types of things. But so I get that, but practically feet get messed up. Like a lot of my friends have weird ass feet, like bunions and like toes that go and really. So if you're in a situation where you have sort of feet like that, like I don't have that. Whatever. So ridiculous and vain that I said that, but I don't. But like whatever. Like, what do you do? Like what do you do when your feet are sort of like kind of a hot mess?
Like,
right?
How do you know when you need to go see a specialist versus when you can do a roller or something?
So I would say a couple different ways. So what Layla's describing is like bunions and hammer toes, right? So there becomes a potentially cosmetic alignment of the toes, right? Where there's always an interplay between cosmetics and function. That's how I think, right? There's both that are really important. When you have a bunion, which is a bump on the side of the toe and the big toe is deviated over, so I'm trying to make a bunion, right? This angulation of the toe and makes this bump on the side. That is showing that there is a loss of stability in the feet and in the hip. And many, many times, those people that have big old bunions have sleepy glutes on the same side, like their butt won't activate, the muscle won't activate, which means that their hip muscle is asleep at the wheel, which puts stress on the hip joint, the lower back, the knee, the ankle, the foot. So could you have someone who has a bunion, which destabilized the glute, now get plantar fasciitis or heel pain on that side because the foot isn't stable when you walk and when you strike the ground? Absolutely, you could totally see that, right? So it's not just the cosmetic, it's a functional stability issue of what we're dealing with. We got that. Okay. Could they have pain literally in the bunion and in the joint because of arthritis, which is what we spoke about earlier? Yes, you could have that. What I will say is your big toe, if you get arthritis in your big toe and you cannot move it, you cannot take long steps when you walk. And part of longevity is walking speed. And if you cannot walk fast enough because you can't take these long steps because you have no range of motion in your big toe, then you slow down the way that you walk. You stop rotating your torso and your pelvis, and you start to kind of march and shuffle. And it completely changes the way that you walk and the way that you move. That in itself is a predictor of morbidity and mortality, not to be a Debbie Downer. But there's a research that predicts that as you slow your walking speed, morbidity, mortality goes up. So I assess that on all of my patients. And what is not often thought of in the larger medical space is the big toe. They just look at the movement pattern and no one went all the way down to the feet to look at the toe.
Interesting.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
How fast are we supposed to walk?
So it's actually relative to your height and to your own unique and kind of state and anatomy. What I will often tell people, because no one's going to know, I mean, unless you're on a treadmill, no one knows like what pace they're walking, really, right? Is you will know your speed when you fall into momentum. And this like mall walking. I love mall walking, right? Mall. Leave your stuff at home, like don't carry your purse and like all of this. Or I used to give this kind of story when I lived in New York City. And it's one of the things that I absolutely love and miss about New York City is that you could walk everywhere and you could walk fast, right? So go to the mall, go to New York City, whatever. And you want to walk fast enough that you'll actually feel that you're in this state of momentum. And the listeners will know exactly when that is, because if someone is about to come in front of you, you have so much momentum behind them that you are going to like barrel into them, right? And you will feel where you switch into that. Now, walking speed and energy with walking and like all of this is if I walk, my boyfriend is 6'4", and if I walk at his pace to keep up with him, I'm taking like twice as many steps as I need. My energy efficiency gets thrown off. If he slows down to walk at my pace, he becomes very inefficient. So this is a very individualized of what your walking speed is. And the more efficient you walk, the less stress you have on your system, which prevents arthritis, and then you move longer. So it's a very interesting interplay.
I'm going to tell my husband that because he always complains about how fast I walk. He walks slow, he ambles, and I'm like, no, when I am walking somewhere, I have got a place to be, and I am out there moving.
Yep.
And my husband always tells me I walk too slow, and he's 6'4". So we got it. We got it. Both of us got it right there. That's perfect.
So recently we had a dermatologist on here who kind of walked us through a lot of the new treatments that people are doing on their faces. But it sounds like a lot of people are doing very similar treatments on their feet, like red light therapy, like acupuncture and stem cell therapy. I put stem cells on my face, but it sounds like now people are using stem cells on their feet. What are all these doing? And is this something that we need to get involved in?
So yes, absolutely. I love red light therapy or photobiomodulation. I recommend that to all of my patients, everyone. It is a chronic game. So whether you're doing it on your face, your body, I don't care what you use it for, it becomes also like a lifestyle. Is
it cosmetic, or is there some kind of lifestyle thing that's going to change?
So red light therapy increases vasodilation or circulation to the area. It can increase mitochondria. So this is the activity, the youthfulness, energy source. It can decrease substance P, so that's kind of a pain modulator. So again, some of the foot stuff is going to be related to pain, not your face. But I would focus on it from a mitochondria, vasodilation, circulation. You're keeping all the little cells happy and active. That's the way that I would think about it. In the feet, it's very much about the nerves. So you need the peripheral nerves, the itty bitty nerves that are in your feet to be happy. Red light therapy is a great way to do that. So you think about that.
Interesting.
Okay. Stem cells, I use stem cells when someone has a tear in their plantar fascia or a tear in a ligament or a tendon. That is where I do different stem cell injections. And all these stem cells are really growth factors. So they are stimulating what's called a fibroblast, which is the cell that makes collagen. That's really where stem cells come in. So it's stimulating collagen production through the cell that makes the collagen. That makes sense.
And that's an injectable. It's not, I can't just take whatever I'm putting on my face and put it on my feet.
No. Yeah. So it's injection. That's where like the vampire facial, right? So they're doing the microneedling to open the skin to then allow the growth factor of the PRP to get into the skin. So that's where it comes into play. Or like hair loss. My boyfriend probably doesn't want me sharing that he's doing it, but whatever. So they do microneedling and then they do exosomes or PRP or some sort of, again, stem cells are loosely used in this. But in my practice, I focus on functional podiatry, but also regenerative podiatry. So a large part of my practice is actually these regenerative injections, and I always stack them with red light. So it is always a stack that I use with patients. Very, very good. Some other ones that people do for the feet, you can do fillers. So you could do dermal fillers in the feet. If you have fat pad atrophy, that is very expensive.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Stop. I don't understand.
Fat pad atrophy.
What is fat pad atrophy? Nothing atrophies in my fat, unfortunately. But yes,
I wish.
I can fathom that might happen to someone.
The foot is one area where you lose fat. Well, you lose fat in your face and fat in your feet. So those are two areas you don't want to lose fat in your body, right? Or your hands also. So you would essentially be injecting fat, fillers, etc., into the ball of the foot, which can be very painful. Oftentimes, this is women who are wearing heels that will notice a little bit more because they're on the ball of the foot. You could do that. You can do Botox for people who sweat a lot. So that's called hyperhidrosis. So you can do Botox. This is extremely painful because you have to inject the entire bottom of the foot with the Botox to try to then shrink the sweat gland.
And so your feet don't sweat. So your feet don't smell, basically.
So really the only time that I would do this is if you actually have clinical hyperhidrosis. They do this on the hands. They'll do it in the armpits. So a dermatologist will do this everywhere. A podiatrist would do it in the feet, but they would do that. But that's usually, I don't know if you've ever shaken someone's hands where you're like, woo, like, are you nervous to see me or like what, that's actually hyperhidrosis. That's a clinical condition. People will get that in the feet. And I remember when I was a resident, we were doing something with these young athletes, and this athlete, he was like a soccer player, and he had such bad hyperhidrosis that like a layer of the skin would just like slough off. Yeah.
Man.
That is the worst case that I've ever seen of hyperhidrosis. And this poor kid had to be in soccer cleats. Like it was.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
Yikes.
What about acupuncture? How can that help my feet?
Acupuncture is great. Dry needling, acupuncture, both of those. So I will recommend that to people who have nerve pain. We had mentioned a little bit on kind of the menopause symptoms. You can get a menopause-related neuropathy. And this is important for women to know because not a lot of people will talk about it. That is a really good example that I will then recommend. Okay, let's look at some of these alternative methods such as photobiomodulation or red light, acupuncture, etc. You can focus on that for the nerves, for the circulation. Certain conditions, plantar fasciitis, you could also do it.
That's terrible, that plantar fasciitis. The people that get that, it's really bad. And it's hard to get rid of, right? I mean, it's not, and a lot of people have it. A lot more people have it than I think even know they have it.
Yes, that is one that I see. My practice is primarily based around chronic conditions, meaning it would be a chronic plantar fasciitis, which is really fasciosis. And then I have a very specific protocol that I put patients through, and it's so that I can determine, do we need to actually do something regenerative? So that's where, if any of the listeners are like, oh my God, I've been dealing with heel pain for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and it's just on and off and on and off, you definitely, well, one, reach out to me. I'll help you. But you have to think outside of the box. And it is most likely they have a partial tear of their plantar fascia, or they have thickening and degeneration, and the tissue is just in a state of chaos, I guess you could say. And then you have to bring reorganization to the tissue before you can finally get rid of this plantar fasciosis.
What about shoe brands? Now, we talk a lot about heels and how bad they are for you and stuff like that. And I honestly, I get pain in my toe box, like around my pinky toes when I wear heels. And now I have to wear kind of a block heel, or kind of a lot of times a flat or a fancy sneaker. I love fancy sneakers. Are there brands that you really recommend, or brands you say, maybe that we should avoid that one?
For high heels?
For high heels, and then also I'm definitely going to ask about
no high heels for me.
I mean, I have the stilettos that I like, but that's just a fashion thing. But which is I was on a other podcast, and they're like, we want like a confession from you, and I was like, I love stilettos. That's my confession.
Dark secrets from Dr. Emily.
I know. Some people, when they see that, I also do ballroom, and they're just like, I can't believe you wear those shoes. And I was like, I have to. Like, it is required. So I would say, when it comes to, I'll talk about like sneakers first, because that'll be a little easier way. Is I try to get people into minimal shoes as much as possible if their foot can tolerate it.
What do you mean minimal? Like minimal heel?
Totally flat. Like totally flat, no cushion, no drop, no structure. Like you could twist the shoe, all of that stuff, especially when you're working out or you are trying to optimize your foot strength as much as possible. Then more minimal. That's like a Vivo Barefoot. Zero shoes. I've mentioned some of those. They have a wide toe box, so they allow your foot to spread, splay, and open up your toes. If someone wants a little bit more of a transitional shoe, that would be like an Ultra. An Ultra is a little bit wider, has a little bit of cushion. On Running is another brand that you can look at for that. Then you, of course, become more structured along that lines. And I've worked with many of the brands. I can give pluses and minuses of every single last shape. Like Nike is just by design more narrow. Vivo Barefoot, which I mentioned, is just a little bit more, it cuts around the fifth and the fourth digit a little bit sharper than, say, Zero shoes. They all have their own last, which is the shape of the shoe, right? That is unique to every brand. And I think sometimes people don't understand that they're just like, wow, how come the On Running didn't work for me and my foot? It works for my mom and my best friend, right? It's just the unique last of it, the shape, right? So we just have to be understanding about that. As far as other ones, if people are looking at like sandals and flip-flops and kind of sandal slides, generally you want the shoe connected to your foot. If the shoe is just like slid on, which is, I'll show you my bad shoe. This is not Emily approved. But the reality is I love Tory Burch, and like what are you going to do? What
about Birkenstocks? Birkenstocks are okay, right?
Well, Birkenstocks don't always connect to your foot, right? So when a shoe is not connected to your foot, you change the way that you walk.
What do you mean by connected?
She means like no strap.
Like a heel, you got to have some kind of something holding your heel in, is what you mean. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, like it's wrapped around your ankle. It's connected. It's something with the heel and the ankle, where my shoe is not. So take that for that. Is you will either slide your foot, you will contract your toes and pick the shoe up when you swing through, or people will do what I call flip-flop foot, and they swing their leg around like this, and they kind of do this egg beater at the knee joint, and they're kind of walking like that. I used to love seeing that one in New York. So they'll do something, or a lot of these kids are wearing Crocs, right? Just I'm in Arizona now, so like every kid wears Crocs and they just like slide around in their Crocs. I'm sure it's everywhere also. It's just crazy. It's bad for gait mechanics to slide your feet around, but it's just kind of it's the thing, right?
My kids wear those Crocs like crazy, and then they'll put the strap up and say they're in sport mode.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know who
That can't be
started that,
good.
but yeah, that's just kind of I don't even know.
Okay, what do you think about Golden Goose shoes? Are they
Let's
podiatrist
so
We're
approved?
talking about Ruthie's agenda. She wants to know about her favorite tennis shoes very quickly before
when,
we
when
Okay,
finish.
okay,
she,
so it's the woman who asked about
I know.
Birkenstocks. Yeah,
When
hippie.
she said fancy sneakers, that is exactly where my mind went. So yes, you can keep wearing your Golden Goose shoes.
Okay, good. They're the best travel shoes. I mean, listen, I can do the girl math, like cost per wear. I've gotten my money's worth out of those dang shoes.
That is how I justify my Louboutins as well. But
There you go.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, I have one more. I have another question really quickly. Inserts. Like, you go to the CVS and you stand on the Dr. Scholl's thing and they tell you to buy size D. I buy that every now. And then, should we do that? Is that stupid? Why am I doing that?
so the over-the-counter arch support that I like, and I'm not paid by this brand in any way. Well, one, my company is one. No, Boso. We have arch supports, but you don't have to use those one if you don't want. Is Power Step. So Power Step is one, and this again, I'm not paid by the company in any way. It is just based off of me recommending various ones to patients, and this is patient feedback to me of the one that has the highest satisfaction rate is Power Step. That is where I have that one from. Of course, there's Superfeet, there's Curex, there's Dr. Scholl's if you want. The materials are always going to be cheaper because it's over the counter, right? So it's designed to be replaced at a certain point. It is not specific to your foot. So where the arch hits, this is the Naboso form, so it has the texture on it and the arch, but where the arch hits on your foot is going to be just a little bit different. This is just a template, right? So hopefully it hits as many feet as possible in the right place to give the proper support. But again, it's not personalized. Custom orthotics. So I do those in my office. I do recommend them in certain situations. I do think they're highly over prescribed.
That was what I was getting at. Like, do we all need them? Like,
No.
okay.
No. It could be activity specific.
Okay.
So one example would be, let's say one of the listeners has a little bit of flatter feet or their feet get tired at the end of the day and they're a nurse and they work 10 hours straight on tile and concrete floors in the hospital. You need to be using something, right? Put this in your Hoka, and that's what's going to help you survive going through that, right? Or if you have a little bit flatter feet and you're a runner, so now you have fast acceleration going through your feet, okay, that makes sense. But I try to not make blanket statements and, X does not always equal Y. And how do we make this individualized? And if you use orthotics at work, maybe you don't need it on the weekend or when you work out. Like, how do we make it a little bit more personalized? That's what I try to go after.
Perfect. And then also go to New York. I think that was one of your tips. Don't walk the way.
Yes,
I
that
don't want to go
was.
to the mall. I want to go to New York.
Yeah, go to New York, go to Fifth Avenue. Like,
Yes, you heard it here. Okay, tell us quickly about Sensory Sapiens.
Yes, so Sensory Sapiens, for those that are on the video, I just shared the cover of it. So this I published a couple weeks ago, and it is a book. It is sensory-based approach to movement and longevity. And the focus of it is that we by design are sensory beings. That's the sapiens, right? We are sensory sapiens. And what that means is that the more that you can tap into the quality and the quantity of sensory stimulation you experience every day, that will then support mood, memory, and movement. So you want to optimize emotional regulation, you have to have a connection to your body and how you relate to it. This is both internally and externally. Cognition, very, very important. If you want to protect your memory and your brain, you have to think about sensory stimulation because that ultimately affects movement. And then these three feed into each other, but sensory is at the core of everything. I actually believe that is kind of the purpose of being alive, is to be sensorially stimulated.
That's amazing.
Love it.
Very cool. Well, we will link to that and everything else we talked about on our website and in our social channels. And thank you so much, Dr. Emily, for joining us today. You guys can look up Dr. Emily at dremilysplichal.com or on social media at the Functional Foot Doc. And of course, we will link to all those things as well. But thank you so much, Dr. Emily, for joining us. I'm so excited to put all this stuff into practice.
Me too. You're amazing. That was so fun. Thank you so much. I keep moving my feet. I'm trying to make them. I'm trying to make them wake up. So you already got me. I keep playing with my feet. So you already got me. That was amazing. Thank you.
Love it.